What has me most excited? Well, let's start off with the fact that it's one of the few musicals that is written with two leads for legit sopranos. So I have access to extraordinary talent in this show. Every single one of my cast is a beautiful, beautiful singer. My leads are just astonishing, and they can act too. This is one of those shows that pulls its inspiration from a variety of places. It's very much British music hall. It's got influences of grand opera and operetta. There's more than a touch of Gilbert and Sullivan in here. And then traditional musical comedy tropes throughout. One of the things that's very interesting about this show musically is it features a lot of waltzes. I mean, I think there's like 6 or 7 of them in the show, and that's unusual for musical theater. The other thing about it is it requires legit voices in the principals, and that is not something that you run into in a lot of musical theater. I tell everybody with the women's parts, there's no belting at all. Imagine that Charles Dickens and Edgar Allan Poe collaborated on a novel together. Then Gilbert and Sullivan decided that they were going to turn it into an operetta, and then Oscar Wilde got a hold of the script and touched it up with little flares of his own. It's definitely set in the same era as the earlier Downton Abbey episodes. Definitely, if you like the Mystery of Edwin Drood and the music hall feeling of this, there's a certain element of that in this show. And then I also think of any of the great British comedies of, I believe the studio was called Ealing, E-A-L-I-N-G, and they made wonderful black and white comedies, many of which starred people like Peter Sellers and Alec Guinness. And if you like that kind of British humor, not quite into the world of Monty Python, but everything that Monty Python is based on, you're gonna love this kind of musical. Oh, well, no, Sweeney makes no pretense of being funny, and Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder is a very funny show. It is about a man who stumbles into murder, not a man who sets out to get revenge on the world by slashing all their throats. It's based on an old British comic movie called Kind Hearts and Coronets. I can never remember the title. And it featured Alec Guinness as every member of this family that gets murdered, and it's a comic tour de force performance. So when they created the musical, they kept the same device of one actor playing all 9 roles. If you look at SBMT's history, we have, when possible, leapt on the chance to be the first company in the South Bay or even in the Bay Area to produce a successful Broadway show. This show won the Tony in 2014, and this will be the first Bay Area production of it by an amateur group. We're very excited to do that. We think with the small cast and the brilliant production values and the glorious score and the orchestrations, we think this is a show that our patrons will love, but it will also bring in new patrons who love new theater to come into our theater and watch what we can do.